Hi everyone and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. Now today we are spreading the word to take care of yourself, but also to spread a little cheer. And what better way to do that than with a beautiful Care Bear called Cheer. Lovely and colourful, as always, I guide you through everything step by step. There is zero cake carving required with this tutorial, so it is great if you are a new baker. Give it a try, guys, and I will be back soon with more new, completely free content. I hope you enjoy it. Stay safe, everyone. In order to eliminate cake carving altogether, I am using Molly's Creature Creator Sitting Down Mould. It comes with a basic user guide and 2 other printed tutorials. I will leave a link to Molly's official website where you can purchase this item in the description below this video. Grease the mould thoroughly with butter or margarine. Now sprinkle over a small amount of flour in order to prevent the cake batter from sticking. Here I have made my classic Victoria sponge recipe, which makes the perfect amount for these moulds. I shall leave a link to that for you in the description below this video. You want to place this in the oven at 170 degrees centigrade for approximately 50 minutes. When the cake is baked and whilst it is still warm, carefully trim off the top. Not much of this cake will do if you have followed the recipe correctly. I then simply turn it out onto a cooling rack and allow the cake to completely cool before we start decorating. Once the cakes have cooled, you need to add a filling of your choice. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I am not adding a thick layer of filling, but you can add as much as you want. For this particular buttercream recipe, again, I will leave a link for that for you in the description below this video. Simply fill the centre, place the 2 halves together, and then crumb coat the whole of the cake. Crumb coating is just a process where we cover the outer side of the cake. This then acts like a glue when we add fondant, but it will also protect your sponge from the air. You can either use buttercream or ganache. Taking a small amount of soft white fondant, I simply place this on the bottom front of the cake just to give my lovely Care Bear a little tummy. Using 2 white balls of fondant the same size just to add more definition to the face. Simply place these on either side. These will act like the cheeks. Take your time shaping them and make sure they're on there securely, and then we will be covering the cake. Roll out about 300 grams of fondant, and we're going to be doing a panelling technique. This is where we drape the fondant over the front of the cake first. Use your fingers to pick up all of those details and then cut off the excess so you end up with a line just down the sides of the cake. We then simply repeat this process for the back of the cake. This is one of the easiest ways to cover this shaped cake rather than either draping it directly over the top or just wrapping one piece all the way around it, but those are options as well. I will speed all of this process up just so you can see how easy it is to cover. Here you can see me covering the back of the cake, so I just simply repeat that process. Use my fingers to smooth out the fondant, and then this is a little bit more tricky because you're adding the other half on there. But with a very sharp knife, I cut off any excess, and you can see me there just use the cake smoothie by Squire's Kitchen just to help smooth it out. Sprinkle down your work surface and roll out some white fondant. Now, if you're careful, you can get the shape right just using the rolling pin. I use a sharp knife to cut off any excess and then simply apply this directly to my Care Bear's tummy with a small amount of edible glue. To shape the Care Bear's mouth, I take a small amount of white fondant and I simply shape it using my hands. We're using very basic, simple shapes. To place the indentations in there, I use a cocktail stick, as you can see in the footage, and then using a small amount of edible glue, simply place this directly onto your beautiful Care Bear teddy bear. I shape the nose by hand, pinching a very small amount of pink fondant with my fingers and making it more of a love heart sort of shape. This is then directly applied to the cake with a small amount of edible glue. For the eyes, start by applying some edible glue and taking 2 balls of white fondant the same size. Simply place this just above the mouth and shape them with your thumbs. Simply repeat that process for the main colour of the eye, so in this case brown, but with a much smaller ball of fondant, and again use your fingers to shape it into place. Finally, to finish the eyes, add a small amount of black for the pupil. In order to make the rainbow, I just keep things very simple. I use basic circle cutters of different sizes just so I get a nice circle shape. And then I place it directly onto some modelling paste. This is going to allow me to stick them all together with a small amount of edible glue. And then I just use a sharp knife just to cut away the excess modelling paste and make sure that it's obviously in a rainbow shape. I found this method very, very easy because it allowed me to apply the rainbow to the Care Bear's tummy without it distorting because it had modelling paste behind it. So it's a very good method, very easy to do and lovely and colourful. As you can see here, very easy to pick up, and all you need to do now is apply this to the cake with a small amount of edible glue. Again, using simple shapes for the Care Bear's legs, I just roll out a cone shape and apply this directly to the sides of the cake. Using a heart cutter, just emboss a little heart directly into your Care Bear's foot. Now repeat this process for the arms. You don't need to emboss a love heart into these, but you will need just a smaller amount of fondant as they don't need to be quite as thick. And just apply them to the cake with a small amount of edible glue. And finally, our Care Bear's ears. So here I have rolled out 2 pieces of fondant, one white and one pink. I have 2 different sized circle cutters and I just simply cut out 2 circles, stick them together, cut them in half, and then use my rolling pin just to make them a little bit longer and apply them directly to the top of the Care Bear's head using a small amount of edible glue. To add your cake to a decorated cake drum without risking damage, leave it in the fridge so all the fondant, the buttercream, the cake, it all goes lovely and hard and sets. Then you gently remove the baking paper and you will physically be able to handle the cake without damaging it. Yes, the cake will sweat, but only whilst it's reaching room temperature. But it allows you to place it directly onto your decorated cake drum. Take care everyone and spread some cheer.